his emotions involved, and he just shunned me and says, we'll do the best we can. And I want to tell you that that was the most frightening experience I've ever had in my life. And I remember immediately that when I went out after that operation, that God took me to heaven. And when I wound up in heaven, God started to speak to me. And I want to tell you a little bit about my outer body experience. That when I went into heaven and wound up in heaven, I heard a voice. I didn't see a person, but I heard a voice. And I want to tell you that this voice sounded like an Orson Welles type of voice, deep, and spoke to me and started to talk to me about the hidden mysteries of the Bible. And I want to tell you the first thing that God spoke to me, please hear me. He spoke to me about forgiving my brother and forgiving my sister. I'm not talking about those that are so closely related to me, although it could be, but I'm talking about my brothers and sisters that walk in this world. And God started to speak to me about forgiving your brother and sister. And I remember putting my shoulders back and taking a posture of pride and saying, you've got the wrong person here, Lord. I forgive everybody. I'm the jolly forgiver. I just forgive everyone. But I want to tell you that God looks so deep in my heart that he's seen that I didn't forgive. And at the same time, I realized that I didn't forgive. And a matter of fact, God brought people up into heaven. And I don't know if it was in my mind, because to explain it, you'd have to really walk in my shoes. But I seen people immediately that I didn't forgive. I also had an illumination to the Bible. I was able to actually see the scriptures. Like in Matthew 7, it says, judge not, lest you be judged. I started to see the scriptures. So as Christ was talking to me, I seen the scriptures, I seen the people, and I realized the verdict was in that I was guilty. And I kept on asking Jesus during this point, like a little child pulling on his father's lapel, am I going back? Am I going back to planet Earth? And I remember Christ saying, at the end, I'll give you the opportunity to decide. Now, as wild as this may sound, I wound up in another place shortly after this. And God started to talk to me about the end times of the world. People right now, you may be asking you, did you believe in God? I believed in God, but I didn't have a firm foundation like I have. I went to church, I did my Christian duty, but I never had a realization that God was so real until I met him and understood. And God started talking to me about the end times of the world. And, for a lack of time and a lack of even the proper words, and sometimes I understand it, but it's hard to get it out so you understand it, he talked about the year 2008. He talked about it being a year where the hand of God would be shown in the world. He talked to me about the church. He said the church is in the season right now, and this is in Romans, where the earth is groaning for the sons of God and the daughters of God. And God explained to me that right now he is birthing sons and daughters into the universe, that he's bringing Christians, believers of God, into the next dimension. That's why if you're a believer of God, you may even be going through a hard time now. God's dealing with issues that are in your heart. Stuff you didn't even realize was there. Some of you are on hold. Some of you say, I want to be a preacher. And you feel that even God has told you this, but you've been sidelined. I want to tell you today that God is preparing you to become true sons and daughters of God. And he doesn't want you to get into the scope of the world and be seen by people and explode. come into problems,